Hey guys, this is Niz with episode 5 of NizCast, and today we're going to be talking about laning again. Now, first I want to talk about creep stacking. So creep stacking is basically pulling the creeps out of their spawn box, pulling them off to a side, or away from that spawn box, so that the next set of creeps can spawn if you do it at the right time. So then you end up with 2 or up to 3 times the creep stack. So look over here, we got a triple stack. I'm just going to demonstrate with this camp up here on how exactly to stack. Now we're looking at the time. It's around 53, 54, 55 that we're going to pull. So let's pull 54 coming off to the side here. And they're going to reset, creep spawn, and we now have a double stack. Now we can use this to pull into the lane after we've stacked. We can do, obviously we can stack every single creep camp all over the map, ancients. The only thing we can't stack is Kongor. But by doing this and pulling these into the lane, we're actually going to completely eliminate a creep wave rather than just partially eliminating it like we did before in the last episode with pulling this creep camp in the bottom. So if we were to pull this camp, now we're at the top lane obviously, into the Hellborn creep wave, if we're on the Hellborn team, we'd pull it once again at 15 seconds and up. Now the reason top lane is actually a little bit different than bottom lane is because you can pull this camp as well. So if we were to pull it to, if we were on the Hellborn side we want to pull, we're going to pull at 54 second mark. So here we are pulling, and we can pull it up this way. I didn't quite time that right, but you can experiment with it a little bit and figure out the timings. But it's, I generally pull around 24 and I get it right. It's hard because the creep wasn't in the right place to do it. And if we were on the Legion side we want to pull, it's around, I believe it's the 18 second mark. So we pull here and we pull directly to the left, come down, going back, making sure we get vision, and we aggro them all the way in, and there we go. So now the creep camp is getting attacked by that. Now we'll actually kill almost our entire creep wave, if not our entire creep wave. Now obviously this is good because we just denied the enemy creeps an entire creep wave of experience. But look what happened. The creeps went on our tower. Now depending on where you pull and everything, they might stay on your tower and you may have to pull them off with your own hero. Or you may just want to let the tower take a little bit of damage. It's completely up to you. There's pros and cons. Obviously the pros are going to outweigh the cons a little bit on this one, but it's definitely something to think of. Now I want to talk about heroes and which heroes are strong together. So we right now have a Hammerstorm and a Pyromancer. These two heroes lane extremely well together. It's a very strong lane. And the reason that is because, one, you always want to have a ranged in your lane. So that's Pyromancer. He can, say this Warlock's a hero, you can harass it with the range whenever they come in for a last hit. And Hammerstorm, what Hammerstorm has is a nice range stun that he can just target on something and land it very easily. Now, pair that up with Pyromancer's stun, which is a little hard to land sometimes, because if you try to run up and stun someone, they're just going to move out of the way, because there's quite a delay on Pyromancer's stun. But what Pyromancer also has is a wave, which gives him a lot of burst damage. So we can pair these two together, and waiting for the next creep wave, we can Hammerstorm stun, then Pyromancer stun, wave, Hammerstorm galvanize, so we have increased move speed and we can chase them. So you can see how this lane works really, really well together. The other great thing is both heroes need a little bit of farm. They don't need a ton of farm, but they need a little bit of farm. So you can kind of balance it between the two of them. If you want to put more farm on Hammerstorm, you can do that. Cut back a little bit on Pyro's farm and vice versa. So there's a lot of versatility in that, but it's a very aggressive lane. Next lane we're going to look at is Plague and Arachna. Now this is obviously double range, so it obviously has its benefits because you're both going to be safe at distance and you're both going to be able to harass a little bit better whenever someone goes in for a last hit. These work really well together because you've got initiation with Plague's contagion. It's got range and it can initiate with a slow. Same thing as Hammerstorm stun, the same effect. And Arachna can also harass with her web shot, slowing them further. Extinguish from Plague fully denies a creep whenever it tries to come up, and if you deny it way out of the enemy hero's range, it's a full deny. So that is also going to help keep the creeps back towards our tower, opening up more possibilities. Rakhna, if you get her third ability, the Aura, increases friendly heroes' range damage. Plague's ranged, it's going to make him hit harder. So you can see how these two heroes work really well together. Arachna's a carry, going to need farm. Plague, not so much. Not in this lane, and it's not, and he's not really going to need it on the team if you're running this lane. So you can see there's a lot of synergy there. Next lane, probably the most popular lane, is Swiftblade Glacius. Glacius can open with his first ability, Tundra Blast. They're slowed, then he can move in and Ice Imprisonment. While they're slowed or Ice Imprisonment, Swift can then run up and spin. So they work extremely well together in that sense. Then Glacius after that, he can max out his Aura. Swift has a lot of problems with mana regen. Aura helps that, so they work really well together. Swift, hard carry, needs farm. Glacius doesn't. Once again, great synergy. But what you can also do is switch out Glacius for Plague. They kind of fit the same role in the sense that they've got a slow, which works really well with Swift Spin, allowing him to get up there and deal some damage. Plague can harass a little bit harder than Glacius, which is obviously beneficial. Plague has the Extinguish to keep the creep wave back, but he doesn't have the Aura to give Swift mana. So you got some trade-offs. Maybe you're going to need a mana pot or two on Swiftblade, but you know, it's the same kind of idea. Swift needs a farm, Plague doesn't. So there's definitely trade-offs between the two. Anyways, I hope you guys learned quite a bit about heroes there, and what kind of lanes you want. So next time when you're on the hero select screen, when you're picking a team, you should definitely try to consider, you know, what are our lanes going to be? Are these heroes going to work together? Because you don't really want to have two hard carries in the same lane. If both need farm, you know, someone's not going to end up with enough farm, or maybe both aren't going to end up with farm because you're both weak laners because you are hard carries in this early game. So try and think of, you know, what's a good lane and what kind of lane can we run with the team makeup we're going for. Lastly, I want you to realize with your lane, what strengths do we have? If we've got good lane synergy and our heroes work really well together, what strengths do we have? So in this lane, we lead with Hammerstorm stun. So alternatively, if you're playing against this lane, chances of you letting Pyromancer walk up and stun you is pretty low. So you really just need to watch out for that Hammerstorm stun. And also, if Hammerstorm stuns you, you know, or if Hammerstorm stuns your teammate, you know that the real next problem is coming from Pyromancer. So instead of just CCing Hammerstorm, CC Pyromancer before he can get that stun wave combo off. Okay? So just try to think of these things in terms of what lane you have, what your strengths and what your weaknesses or your vulnerabilities are, and also think of it when you're playing against the lane as well. Anyways, food for thought. I hope you guys learned quite a bit about laning again, and my next episode's probably going to be about laning again. There's a lot to talk about, and I hope you stay tuned. Thanks. This is NizCast.